Do a couple of things in chat just now too, right before my shower. As far as the topics. Eero, hi John, and your Wikipedia page, yes. Oh, and Sonos. Ay, ay, ay. Sonos is directly related to the Eero
Related to the Eero.
versus Alexa.
Gyros.
Yeah, no, that's Eero with it, like with a Y sound. Eero is like yee.
So there was this vendor up at UT football, and he sold Greek food. And he had one of those little carts, and it was called Little John's Pita. But he's standing on the side of the road as crowds going by. He's going, Euros, 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 gyros, gyros, Euros. So he knew his audience.
Know your audience. Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. You know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right.
Check something real quick, and then I'm ready to kick into the introduction. Okay, good. All right, I'm good. I have a checklist process for when I've paid bills. I check it once to mean it's done in the register. I check it twice to mean it's actually done in the web portal. And I didn't have the second checkbox, but it was actually done.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have another secondary main topic today. We might go long today.
Okay.
a lot to talk about. We can maybe we'll wait on the node host Linode AWS stuff, but we'll see. So anyway, all right. Who's up?
I think it's me. Okay, episode 138. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, and welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast, episode number 138. 138 enunciated. I am Adam Bell, your host, and joining me as always is my co-host, Peter Nikolaidis. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I am also doing well, considering we're living through the pandemic and we're still huffing
alive
and huffing through.
We're still living through the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So are our loved ones, and that's a good thing too.
Didn't I just hear, was it a Tennessee gubernatorial candidate? Speaking of pandemic and everything, that it was Tennessee gubernatorial candidate suggested that our president should declare martial law.
I don't know about that. I don't pay attention to the news enough.
And now I know why I try not to.
Yeah, Governor Lee is our current governor, and I guess if whoever you're talking about, he must be hoping
it's a woman.
For the next he or she. Okay, she. Yeah, I don't know who she is.
Yeah. Supposedly she's been described as a Trump in heels.
Trump in heels. I think the country has kind of stated where they stand on that.
Fake news?
No, I mean, like they didn't reelect him, so clearly
But that's because
a lie.
The election, right? Exactly.
That's a lie, but whatever.
Okay, well, that was the political portion of this show. Let's move on to fun things.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about today. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start at the top, and then we'll go from there. We don't necessarily have to keep going down, but we'll start there.
Start at the very beginning. All right, follow up from last week. Black Friday deal, as we mentioned, I purchased Eero wireless, the base unit and a repeater. It's Wi-Fi 6 compatible. And although it looked like it was a little limiting at first, I so far do not regret the purchase at all.
Mm-hmm.
It lacks a lot of bells and whistles that I really don't need. And my wireless performance is way better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the weak link in my wireless home automation entertainment system
Mm-hmm.
is my Sonos. Specifically, its integration with, well, anything else.
Yeah. Well, anything.
Yeah. So it's Airplay. I've been having trouble for months, years with Airplay on Sonos. And I
Mm-hmm.
own a Sonos Beam, which has Airplay enabled. All the newer Sonos stuff has Airplay native
Mm-hmm.
and also has either Google Assistant or Amazon's Assistant built
Mm-hmm.
in native. Well, not native, but built in to the, native-ish. And the A word, the Amazon support is always lacking in one way or another. You try to tell it to do something and she'll say, oh, audio actions are not supported on this device. Or there are some things you can do with it that you can't do with other stuff. And the Airplay stuff, I was really hoping when I yanked out my old wireless system and put in the Eero that my Wi-Fi problems would go away. And the Airplay problems would go away. Well, I think the Wi-Fi problems went away, but the Airplay problems have not.
Yeah.
And so, it just sometimes refuses to connect. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And sometimes the Sonos S1 app, because I need the S1 app because I have the older hardware, just doesn't load. And, just like comes to a splash screen with the S1 and that's all you see. So, yeah, in hindsight, if I had known how poorly Sonos would be performing right now, I probably would have gone with something else, especially now where you can, as I understand it, you can have Echo devices, Echo speakers connect in like pairs and play the same music across all of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that's why I bought the Sonos. That was my whole reason for having Sonos, was so that I would be able to, like move from room to room throughout the condo and hear the same stuff. I've invested a lot of money in this stuff. And, so
Yeah.
friend of the show, Scott Wilsey, every time he hears the word Sonos, he just gets angry at me. And he's just like, just throw it away, throw it away.
Well, that's what one of my guys at the office, they were like, well, I was thinking about getting a Sonos. And I said, no, don't do it.
if you are going to be solely in the Sonos ecosystem, I would say you can probably do it. But in the off chance that you want to stream something from your iPhone, or you want to use another virtual assistant, a smart assistant with it, it sucks. And I haven't really used the Google Assistant. I tried it for a day. It was just too confusing having the lady in the tube and the Google lady, like competing in my headspace for like, wait, who do I talk to where and stuff.
Yeah.
So
when I recently bought one, so I bought a Nest video camera for my office. You have three of them?
I don't have the Nest cameras, but I have 2 Google Home Minis and 1 Nest Home Mini.
Okay.
I also have an Android tablet. And of course, I have the Sonos Beam, which could be Google. And of course, I have the Google Assistant app for iOS, which I never use.
Yeah. But I bought that camera for my front door at the office so that we would get notification when people were there. And because when COVID hit, I would still have deliveries and I needed to be able to communicate with drivers as they're dropping off stuff.
Yep.
Well, now I've got somebody at the office all the time, but the doorbell's there with the camera and they ring the doorbell and nobody can hear the doorbell except me on my cell phone wherever I am. So I put in my little Google Nest Mini in the office and they ding the doorbell and it says to the office, somebody's at the front door.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So that worked.
Yep. Yeah. So so I got that. I also another Black Friday purchase. I don't think I mentioned this last time. I'm not sure I want to go into details on it just yet, but I did buy a smart lock.
Oh, you're talking about at the front door?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did talk about that.
Did I mention the brand though, or anything that I bought?
I don't think you mentioned the brand.
Yeah, if I didn't, I'm probably not gonna. I haven't heard anything bad about it. I just don't want to, like give hackers any ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, let's mess with Peter Nikolaidis.
Yeah.
Here's what he's using. We found his IP. Let's go.
But with the exception of the Sonos, and also I guess, well, the Philips Hue, I should double check that. Almost everything at this point is, I got to move the Hue. Pretty much everything, all my IoT devices are out on the guest network. And the Eero by default does client isolation on those, so they can't see each other. So that's a decent amount of, protection, keeping your IoT stuff away. So if I get infected by, what's the big giant bot? I don't even remember there's so many of them now.
Yeah.
Giant, botnet out there made of IoT's stuff. At least it wouldn't be inside my network. So happy about that.
So pro tip for our listeners, if you have a wireless device or your wireless controller, create a separate SSID for your IoT things so that if somebody hacks them, that's as far as they get.
Now and not just an SSID, because you could make a separate SSID and just bond it right back to your internal LAN. That doesn't do anything. It's like
make
buying
sure it's a guest network.
Right. Because if you buy a separate access point, for instance, and you say, oh, this is my guest access point, but it's tied directly to your main network, all you've done is cluttered it up and added more signal to, slow down your wireless and join them right in. So you talk to an IT professional, a security professional, someone who knows what they're doing before, if you have no idea what you're doing, which is most people.
Most people, they just say, I don't need wireless. My internet service provider gave it to me.
I was actually pretty impressed. The software that I have running on my my Verizon FIOS router, it looks like it's a Linux version. And it was fairly, it seemed fairly customizable. It could do some decent stuff. But as part of what I've been doing, I disabled the wireless on that router altogether. And, again, just trying to clean things up. And I'm getting about 300 megabits per second downloads when I do some tests, which is the speed of my FIOS that I'm paying for. So, if the Wi-Fi can support that, it's not too shabby. So far, 2 thumbs up for the Eero systems. I'm pretty happy with it, pleasantly surprised.
Cool.
But Sonos, not so much. But the other thing too is now with all these, everything's an app, everything's an IoT, everything's a service. Nothing is easy to troubleshoot. So I had this problem. we know that the lady in the tube will read your Kindle books for you, right? Because I like to have her do it. The voice is a lot more pleasant than like the iOS screen reader or the Siri voice. And I do this without paying for Audible, right? So in the last few weeks, I've had her read to me and alternated reading on my Kindle, classic novels, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Dracula, Jekyll and Hyde. Now I'm reading King Solomon's Mines. They're both Kindle books. They're part of a series. There's 100 books you must read before you die. The first 50 is free. The second 50 is $1. So no brainer, right? I bought those. And, all classic works. And, there are everything I'm reading, I was like, this is really great. Volume 2, I say, read this book. And it says, what device do you want to play it on? And it lists this device, meaning this A-word app, all my Echo devices, and all my Sonos devices are options. So I can play it in any or all of them. I go to tell it to read volume 1, the book that I'm reading now for King Solomon's Mines. It only lists this device and all the Amazon hardware. So I thought I was having another Sonos issue where suddenly it doesn't show up, right? But no, this is definitely an Amazon problem, because in the same app, if I pivot out of this book into another book and I say, I want you to read this one, it's like, sure, I'll read this anywhere. Like, okay, how about this one? I will only read this to you here. it wants something from me. It's like, it's like, no, you need to be over here for me to read you this book. It's like,
The
why are
free
we
stuff
bargaining?
has to come through Amazon, and then
Why
the
are we
dollar
bargaining?
stuff.
You might be right. I don't remember which book it is. It might be related to the fact that I paid money for one and one was free. You may not be wrong. Free stuff can read anywhere, but the stuff you bought is tied to their hardware or vice versa.
No such thing as a free book.
Bingo. So yeah. Meanwhile, a representative from Sentinel-1 reached out to me and connected to me on LinkedIn this week. As I'm in the middle of evaluating next-gen EDR solutions, I said, sure, I'll take it. Or I'm probably going to end up talking to you soon anyway.
Might as well.
Yep. So he reached out and said, hey, John, thanks for connecting. He wrote that to me.
Wait, isn't your middle name John?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he should have gone through the Greek names, because he surely would have hit David, Nick.
There are a lot of Chris.
Peter.
There are a lot of Greek Johns too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah. I'm not one of them.
Yeah. John. I mean, yeah, he was close.
Yeah. So that was an annoying piece of LinkedIn correspondence. Not as annoying as an offer that I got from this scumbag though. What was his name?
Oh yeah, I will build your Wikipedia page for you.
Sonny.
For $450, wasn't it?
$750.
$750.
Yeah, for every company owner or startup founder, it is always great to see his startup listed on a prestigious platform like Wikipedia to increase brand credibility and impress investors. Wikipedia is the 5th most visited site and reputed site on the internet. And if you are here, it means you are the best with respect to all the factors mentioned above. Okay, I'm going to cite a page that I have not yet seen, but I heard this referenced on my Tuesday night Dungeons and Dragons game. I'm going to the Wikipedia page, wikipedia.org, and I am going to search for, I can't believe I'm typing this, whale penises. There is a Wikipedia page for that.
Well, it is my understanding that, because when you sent that, I was like, isn't Wikipedia free?
Yes.
To fill out your information? Now, nobody may care or pay attention to it, but because what I read was the process is you write it, you submit it, it gets reviewed, and then they either post it or they don't.
Well, I think they post it, but then what can happen? I don't think people aren't reviewing. It's all very open. I think what happens though is people can sort of downvote it and say this is irrelevant.
Yeah,
and it needs to go away. But the whole point of Wikipedia is anybody can put anything up there.
Yeah.
It's open.
Because there is an Adam Bell in Wikipedia, the English outlaw Adam Bell, but that's not me because he's dead, and I'm not dead yet.
So I'm just excerpting from this email from this guy from Sonny. Wikipedia is the 5th most visited and reputed site. And if you are here, that means you are the best with respect to all factors. I am sending him back a link to en.wikipedia.org/wiki/penis-whales. Sent. That's my response. Because if you're there, that screams respect to me,
and excellence.
Oh, brother. And excellence. Yes, excellence and respect. All right. So do we want to jump right back into our main topic, what we were talking about last week?
Yeah.
So on forever.
Yeah, we go on. So last week, just as a recap, we briefly talked about how people are breaking in. Really, I mean, from a cybersecurity standpoint, how people are breaking in, what methods they're using, and it's interesting. So this week, we had we put in some rules across the board for all of our clients, and we got a notification that a forwarding rule had been created in Office 365 for one of our clients, and it created a ticket.
Email compromise.
Business email compromise. So we got a notification. We got 2 notifications. Like, oh boy. And one of them was the CEO. So we called the CEO first, and he said, actually, no, I created that forward rule. Okay, fair enough. So, but good to know that we caught it, because it could have not been. He's like, yeah, thanks for checking. But then while we were on the phone with him, another notification came in for another person in the same company. So we contacted him, and he says, no, I didn't create a rule. I'm not even in front of my computer.
I don't even know what rules are.
Yeah. So we checked him, and he had multi-factor authentication turned on. So somebody couldn't have just opened a web page and fired up as him. So
except there are some interesting multi-factor authentication bypasses going around right now, but we won't go into that just yet.
Yeah, I would be interested to hear that when we get to that, because he, within 30 minutes, we got his notification. We stopped all of his, we changed his password, we reset all sessions, and but we have no idea how or where they got in, because they were logged in as him. They set up a rule. He had multi-factor turned on. Supposedly, he hadn't done anything stupid like logging into a public computer with his credentials and MFA, allowing somebody else on his computer and not clicking any links. I don't know that I believe all of those things. Any one of those things could have gotten somebody past an MFA. But I am interested to hear what you are talking about with how to bypass MFA.
It's probably too complicated for us to get into in the show, but I will.
But it is possible.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
All right.
I have put a link in the show notes.
That's like, I've seen Kevin Mitnick pull things from wireless and get the MFA stuff. I didn't exactly understand it had to do with cookies, but I've seen him do it.
I've seen him do it. It can be done.
Yeah. So we were going to talk. So we talked about how these things are happening. So this week we're going to talk about how we are helping our clients and how we can help people in general. We can talk these other details, but really the number one thing, we're not going to save the number one thing for last. We're going to tell everybody the number one thing.
Not burying the lead.
is you. You are the...
Me?
You.
Wow.
You are the number one way to protect against cybersecurity idiots. Don't be an idiot.
Don't be one.
Just you've got to use your brain.
Oh, you lost me.
You lost it. Got to use your brain. You are smart enough not to get hacked. If you read, if you take your time, and just think about, would my ISP ask me for my password for my email? Why would they need that? Why is Microsoft?
So here's the thing. I had a call yesterday with the CEO and CFO of one of my clients, and I had to have a discussion with them about my concern that their IT director knows everybody's passwords. Mm-hmm. And the CEO asked, well, what if we let an employee go and we need to get access to their files? We need their password.
No, you don't.
It's like, no, that's where you send us an email to support and we reset the password, or we just have access. What's coincidental about this is a company where one or more of the staff members are under investigation for various forms of sexual harassment and stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, if everyone's sharing passwords, you have no proof everyone has plausible deniability, because anybody can say, I didn't write that. That was someone else.
Yeah.
They had my password. Wasn't me.
It wouldn't me. But yeah, so, well, just to reiterate, education. So I don't expect people to just know. I don't expect people to just know I got to be smarter and how they can be smarter. There are so many free resources out there on the internet of how to recognize. NIST just released they sent me an email. I forwarded it along to you.
Yep.
They have educational resources for anybody that wants to learn. It's free. It's not complex. It's not rocket science. It is, it's plain English that you can read, you can understand. There are pictures, there are videos there are plenty of vendors. We use vendors, Know Before, PII Secure. Those are paid for services, very good services, but there are free resources. Go to NIST, check them out. And
you have to start with an understanding that the internet is a very scary place, right? I mean, I'm not making this up, and I'm not not embellishing. I don't know what the word is. Criminals are out there. Nation state attackers are out there. Terrorists are out there.
Yeah.
Okay. And these criminals and nation states, they use automation, right? They may not be coming after you, but still the prevailing theory at University of Vermont Health, which was down for 3 solid weeks, and as of last week, supposedly is only back to 70% now, and it's been almost 2 months. According to what I've been told, they have not received a ransom demand. They got hit by ransomware. They didn't get a ransom demand, which means if that's true, whatever hit them, they weren't even trying. It was completely automated, and the attacker didn't even know that they had hit them.
Yeah, didn't know they were successful.
So it can literally happen to anybody. You don't have to be a target. You just have to be on the internet in some form or another. So you have to start with that understanding. And once you know that, now you have to take it into your hands to say, okay, what can I do to secure myself? And you have to. So.
Well, and our Department of Treasury was hacked this week.
So was one of the nuclear agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's bad, man. This is horrible. And, it's amazing. My friends who would support the current administration blindly and not question a single thing seem to be avoiding me now. These were the ones who were saying that, well, we proved there was no Russian meddling during the election in 2016. But yet, when our CISA director came out and said there was no Russian meddling in 2020, and it was the most secure election yet, he got fired. Sure.
So what do you think? We change our passwords every, whatever frequency, 180 days is long, 30 days is short. You think we'll get new social security numbers now that all of our social security numbers are out there?
No. And the thing is, all of our social security numbers have been out there for years. I pretty much have, like free credit monitoring for life. Every time there's a new breach, you get a new credit.
Just sign up for new one. Yeah.
Yep. Here's your free monitoring. Have fun. Actually, in the state of Massachusetts, and I think maybe Vermont and certainly others, the credit reporting agencies are required to give 3 months of free credit monitoring to every resident. So what you can do is you sign up with Experian for 1 quarter, don't pay them, don't renew it. You sign up with Equifax the next quarter, don't pay and don't renew it. You sign up for TransUnion the next quarter, and then when you're done, you roll back again and go back to Experian. And that way you can get free credit monitoring. But every time there's a breach, I get a year of free reporting and monitoring from someone else. So whatever.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad. I know better. I know I don't need to do it, but I paid Experian this year for a year's worth of service because I added an address in Nevada and I added an address in Pennsylvania, and my social security number was used in all of those, and my social security number was used to try to get an SBA loan.
Yep, I remember
And
that.
I'm like, I need to know, I need alerts real time.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pay for this.
I'm not a fan of this racket, where this company without my permission has all of my data.
Yeah, they've got it.
Exposes it to the wind and then wants to charge me for access to it.
Yeah, I don't know how it's Equifax that was compromised. I don't know how Equifax is allowed to still be in business. They've proven that they don't have the rights to that information.
Yep. I actually am connected personally. I had a meeting with the CISO of Equifax last month. And it's very interesting talking with him and getting his perspective on stuff. So this is the new one who came in after the breach.
Oh, yeah.
He's also the guy who came in to Home Depot after the breach. So he's a cleanup guy. He posts a lot on LinkedIn, like videos, and it's like, dude, spend a lot of time motivating folks. I don't know how much he's CISOing these days. So, but apparently he's got a good rep. But yeah, it's I think that they seem to be doing a good job to get things on the right track. But the whole, just ethically speaking, the whole Equifax, the whole credit reporting process and stuff just bothers me. That there's no opt out. You're in there. You don't have a choice. If you want to have anything called credit in this country, you got to play. So.
Oh yeah. And here's a tip, or in mine, it vacillates between good and very good. So it just happens that I would get a notification every 30 days. Your credit has just gone down from very good to good, which is like 1 or 2 points, it goes down. And then the next month, your credit score has gone up to very good. Log in and see how.
I get the same things. I get those same I haven't paid for it, but I get those same notifications like your credit score went down. Yeah, I bought something on my credit card. Great. Thanks.
Yep. And all right. So back to our how we can help. So SIEM. What does SIEM stand for? SEIM. What does it stand for?
So I usually write it as SIEM, but either way can go.
That's a typo on my part. You are correct.
No, some people put it that way though. Some people write it that way. But a SIEM, CM, whatever you want to call it, depends on who you're asking. It's a security incident and event monitoring solution or management solution, depending on who you're asking, right? Essentially, it's a way to collect all your log data from various sources. And what's nice is that this is where you can go for historic forensics and threat hunting after a system has gotten compromised. So if you have to burn this box down, but you have the logs, you burn the box, but you can still find out what happened. And as it happens, just last week, I had one of my clients' websites compromised and it was unmaintained. They had put in some new plugins and the attacker was able to upload a remote shell via an unsecured WordPress form. And as that, they got in, and luckily, it was a self-contained site. We were able to take it all the way down. But the only way we knew what happened was by analyzing the logs after the fact. So it's very helpful, very, very helpful.
Well, and from an enterprise standpoint, a SIEM, whatever you want to call it, the extended logging is expensive. It's expensive for your organization because of the number of devices that you have.
It can be.
It can be.
There are cheaper options out there. You have to pay for storage somewhere, right? That's the trickiest part. But if you buy a solution like Splunk, Yeah,
Mhm.
that is expensive as heck.
Mhm.
And they essentially just tell you, pipe everything into it, pump everything into it, and then they charge you per megabyte ingested into their solution.
Yeah.
Other solutions like Elastic don't do that, and some of them. What's happening now is I'm seeing other vendors like Exabeam, Cisco, even Sophos.
Mhm.
They're starting to spin up their own data lake product
Yeah.
offerings, and these are essentially doing similar stuff, but they don't have the same price tag. And
Mhm.
most of them, Cisco, I believe, does their own, but most of them seem to just leverage AWS and S3, and
Mhm.
that storage is relatively cheap.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, so you're talking about the enterprise, but this is also not out of the reach of a small business, because generally speaking, on the high end, you would pay $15 for every device that you want to monitor. So, if you're going to use somebody like CyberHawk or Arctic Wolf, won't deal with you because they're bigger, but
yep.
generally speaking, if you budgeted $15 per device, so that's your firewall, your server, your switch if it's a smart switch, your workstations. So let's say you have 10 workstations at $15 a piece. You're looking at $150 plus your network gear, less than $200 a month. You could have all of this stuff monitored and be able to protect your organization
Yep.
from you don't need it till you need it.
And well, that's just it. It's like insurance. It's like a seatbelt. You've got to. You don't need it till you need it. That's just it.
I've been wearing my seatbelt now for 30 years, and I
Why?
think I've only needed it like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Isn't it easy just to not wear it?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so we talked about the SIEM,
yep.
data retention rules, which is not the same as logging.
Retention rules means how long you're going to keep those logs,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, yes, that and like Office 365 retaining emails and things like that is what I really mean.
Okay, that kind of data retention. So right, retention of the actual data as opposed to log retention.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing is I've been participating in a couple of investigations in the last few weeks, and in multiple instances the logs don't go back far enough.
Nope.
Whatever was happening started in February, but the logs only go back to August.
Yep.
Nothing to look at. Well, you're talking about email retention, for example, though. So yes, go on. That is different, related but different.
Yeah, and so Microsoft, I don't know exactly what the rule is on Google either, how long they retain, but Microsoft is actually only promising you, even as an Office 365 business user, 30 days of email disaster recovery. Meaning, if you have an email and you didn't delete it, you've got it in folders, they're promising you 30 days of they could restore your account the way that it is now with all of its emails back. But after 31, if an email was just lost because of, for whatever reason, it's just gone. There's no recovery for it. Now, Microsoft has been pretty good about making sure that people aren't losing email just out of the blue, but I've got clients that they've lost email, and they want to tell Microsoft to get that email, and Microsoft points to the SLA. Sorry, 30 days is all we're going to do. We feel your pain. I mean, they don't act unsympathetic, but they're not going to do anything about it.
Yep.
So you have to buy either from Microsoft or a third party the extended data protection, where it takes a copy of that stuff.
Some sort of backup.
Some sort of email backup.
Yep. We use Backupify for that.
Mm-hmm. Veeam has a solution. I mean,
lots of people do.
Yeah, lots of solutions.
Yep.
So if you just can't think, oh, well, Microsoft's taking care of it. Because my client literally told me, well, I trust Microsoft's business practices and they're going to take care of it.
I mean, you do trust Microsoft, but they're not perfect. And sometimes they don't take care of it.
Yeah. So. Well, sometimes they can't. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't, because they have retention rule. Do you know how much data they have?
Google has been, I don't know if you've gotten the emails though, but Google will start deleting old data soon, like unused data, unused accounts. So even Google, who's, always been like, we never delete anything, they're starting to actually delete stuff now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm still a Google workspace or whatever it's called now.
G Suite.
G Suite.
G Suite.
Yeah, the suite.
G Suite.
G Suite.
Sweet. Yeah.
So I've gotten the notification that they're deleting old counts, and
it's like Gesundheit.
Yeah. Well, and they're just now deleting deleted items on a regular basis at 30 days. So I have a client that stored files in their deleted items, like organizationally stored files in their deleted folder. I said, wait, you can't do that. I said, well, no, that's the way I do it. No, you can't. I said, because the first time a technician gets on your computer and you tell them my email's running out of space, they're going to empty your recycle bin, and they're not going to be wrong. Yeah.
I had a client once who stored a lot of her files in her recycle bin on her desktop in Windows 95. It's like, do you keep important documents in your office? Do you keep important documents in the trash can next to your office, next to your desk?
As your storage location?
Why would you do that? How does that make any kind of sense? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. All right. So antivirus and spam filtering, sitting at the front of that.
Filtering.
Yes. Filtering is a big deal.
Yes.
And Microsoft, once again, Microsoft and Google, they are doing it. But they're doing it for a great big number of people. So it can't know your organization like you want it to be. It can't personalize as much as you would want it to be.
True.
So a third-party filtering is necessary if you want to go all the way with it. If you're a perfect, I haven't put any third-party filtering on my own system because I can recognize a spam. I expect my guys to be able to recognize spam.
You hope. So you're relying on G Suite, right?
G Suite. I'm relying on G Suite.
Yeah.
And I know you've had way more problems with G Suite spam filtering than I have, because I've seen things in the spam that necessarily shouldn't be in the spam, but I was like, I don't care. If I want to read more about, if I want to read more from this particular vendor, I'll go into spam and unmark them as spam. But you know what? I'm not missing it.
For me, it's like I miss things though. I'm at a point now where I have to be checking my spam folder pretty much every day. Otherwise, I miss things.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And the other thing that kind of sucks too is like I get some emails that are spam, but they're from my website. And I don't want to leave them there as spam, because then Gmail starts to think, well, Peter's website must be spam. Like, well, yeah, no, it's some jackass spammer using my site to send me contact form spam.
Yeah.
That's not the same.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I forwarded that email asking if I could punch this guy to my friend Scott Wilsey, listener, sometimes listener of the show, friend of the show. And he replied back, yes, I can punch this guy. And Gmail called it spam. So I don't want emails from Scott marked as spam, but I want emails from Sonny. I want his stuff as spam. Yes.
Yeah.
What do I do?
You're going to have to whitelist Scott.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, so what I recently signed up for a new filter. There are lots of filtering services. You worked for one of the big boy filtering services.
I did.
And which I don't like their product, and
I don't.
Yeah, I don't like their product at all.
It has one cool feature that I have not seen anyone else do. But other than that, no, I don't. Yeah.
So I've signed up with a, Blockworks is a security provider. And then by me being a member of the 20, I'm able to buy it from them because they do channel only. So Blockworks resells a product called Avanon, Avanan, and then we're able to manage it from there, and it's really slick. So we've got it set up for our clients. We drop malware and phishing immediately. It goes straight to quarantine. They don't get any notification of it. But it does go into quarantine just in case, just in case it's something that a user is expecting, or we need to do it. And then suspicious gets marked as suspicious and gets passed on to the user. So it sits on top of what Microsoft is already doing. And that's pretty cool because really Microsoft is catching about 85%.
Okay.
It's the other 15% that they're missing that's getting through. It's the dumbest of the dumb are getting caught by Microsoft. And then the ones that have a little bit of sense about, hey, I might be able to make a proper, TXT record or DMARC record, or send it from a different, person or location, or hack somebody and send it with legitimate emails. So it's looking for this, but then it's also looking for impossibilities. Like if you send an email to me from Boston, and then you also send me an email from China in the same hour.
The Superman rule.
Yeah. There's no way that could happen. And it gets marked, and it's systematically looking for crazy things like that. And the SOC is watching this whole thing. So the Security Operations Center is watching this group of tools. They're not reading each email, just to be clear. They're not reading the email. They're waiting for the computer to throw an alert, and then they investigate.
Correct.
And they go and they clean this stuff up, and they either pass it on to the user or they mark it as quarantine.
Yep.
And one of the things that I really like is it's got a nice heat map.
Okay.
It shows where users are logging in successfully.
Yep.
And there's also an opposite heat map where they're failing to log in, which is also a nice heat map to see.
Yes, the fail logins are very interesting. What was very interesting with me was seeing hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of failed logins on this website that got hacked, followed by that success. And then everything gets quiet after that. Yeah. And it's like, that was the point of damnation right there.
Well, and so here's the thing. If you don't have those tools, if you don't have a tool monitoring, Microsoft is not monitoring for that in any shape, form, or fashion.
Unless you buy their E5 product.
Yep, E5. Yeah, you're right. You got to pay for the big.
You got to pay to play.
You got to pay to play.
You got to pay for Microsoft to play.
Yeah, and you got to pay good money, and they don't really want to do it. They are doing it because it's being demanded of them.
Yes.
All right. You want us to do that? I'll do that service. You're going to pay the stupid money. We don't care.
You're going to pay through the nose.
But that same thing, if that client, if there's no way you weren't watching that.
No. And that's the thing is SOC services and incident response services and stuff. There are some clients for whom we do that, but for just plain old managed services, managed IT services, that's not what you're paying us for.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, I explained to my client with the hacked website, I said, as your host, I've investigated a little bit to try to find out what's going on. But we've determined it is compromised. Anything we go further than this to figure out what happened, how long it's been happening, what we need to do to make this not happen for you again, that's billable.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's not covered in just paying your hosting fee. And it's not like we're on a retainer. We're not doing a premium managed secured hosting package for them. It's just standard run of the mill web hosting.
But Peter, why didn't you explain that to me when we started this?
Oh, I did.
I don't remember that.
I'm sure you don't. But you also don't have it in writing where we said we were doing all that for you, right?
Yeah.
So you can argue that on a marketing perspective, from a marketing standpoint, we didn't do our job. But from a legal contractual obligation standpoint, sorry, we told you.
Yeah.
We told you.
Yep. So making sure, and then of course, this is your favorite. We've talked about it in cybersecurity things of when it all fails, have cybersecurity insurance.
It's the backup. It is the backup. But again, saying like we don't care about a cyber attack because we have cyber insurance is like saying I don't wear my seatbelt because I have health insurance.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Don't recommend that course of action. Really don't.
Yeah. If I break my arm, they'll fix it. It'll never be right again, though.
It'll never be right again. Bingo. Oh, brother. What else we got?
All right. So that was our, so one thing that I was thinking about, and we don't do this very often just because it's too big of an issue all the time, is cybercrime is attempted robbery. If somebody tries and fails, that's really attempted robbery. We've gotten to the point, well, they were trying to get in my computer and I didn't let them in. Well, if somebody comes to your door and tries to get in and can't get in and you call the police, they come get them, they're going to get in trouble. I don't know what level of trouble, but they're going to get in trouble. So there should be a level of trouble for cybersecurity attempted robbery. And there is, but it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult logistically to get that person.
Yep.
But I'll include the link. There is the ic3.gov complaint form that people should fill out.
Okay.
Because these people are systematically repeating things over and over again. It's a game of numbers.
Yep.
Keep hitting.
It's a numbers game. Totally is a numbers game.
But if they got 2 or 3 reports from the same thing happening and they were able to narrow it down a little bit, some of these criminals could be found. There are very dumb organizations of the government. NSA is not one of them. If I don't know what I can say about the FBI's version of this, but those guys they're pretty sharp. And if you can get them a direction and point them, maybe they'll get something.
Yeah. The FBI guys, I think they're doing good. They're doing a lot better work there these days than they, in the past. CISA, Center for Internet Security, CISA. I don't even remember what it is anymore. They're doing amazing work. And, I think firing Chris Krebs was just, anyway. But they're putting on a lot of good information. They're assisting with webinars and lots of free resources and direct resources that they're giving to business and infrastructure. So, just go out and start looking for these resources. There's tons of available stuff out there for you.
You know what Fireeye is?
Yeah. Oh, I know what Fireeye is because we I happen to be involved in an engagement using Fireeye right now for one of my clients.
Okay, so tell me what Fireeye is.
So Fireeye is a software security vendor.
Mm-hmm.
They also acquired 5 more years ago. They acquired Mandiant, which was pretty much the premier services in incident response and forensics. They're the ones who coined the term APT.
Okay.
And they identified APT-1, which is a division of the People's Liberation Army of China, for instance. Big names in security come out of Mandiant. And Fireeye, I guess we're going into the news. Agent, is that where you're headed with this, or were you just legitimately asking me what is Fireeye?
Well, because of the news.
Okay, yes. So Fireeye makes a number of security software products, and they offer services in the form of Mandiant, for instance. And they got hacked. They got hacked pretty hard. Their red teaming tools were infected. And this was done by Fancy Bear, the APT, or Cozy Bear, sorry, Cozy Bear, and one of the Russian arms. And it was an advanced persistent threat, meaning they were in the environment for a long time before they were discovered. How did they get in? By hacking SolarWinds. SolarWinds is probably something, I don't know if you're using it, but I know friends who are using it.
I used to use it.
I used to use it. I'm still getting their emails telling me about all the good things that they can do to patch it and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, I haven't used your stuff in a long time. SolarWinds is a network management product, and it's very widely deployed. And I have multiple clients who are using it. I'm not personally, Paradigm's not responsible for it, but it's out there. And this was a classic supply chain attack, so like, the Russians wanted access to a bunch of places. Where do they go? They hack SolarWinds. Anybody who applied this update from SolarWinds over, between the span of March and June got infected. And that's currently thought to be at least 18,000 different institutions at this point, including several wings of the United States government.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and so I did see an article, I talk about I don't watch the news, but there's some things you just can't not see. But I saw that Microsoft really got involved with that, and they revoked some certificates on some of the operating systems.
Yes.
They updated the Defender antivirus on there. They ended up breaking some machines, but they didn't care because they were killing the virus, and they had to break those computers. And I would say that. Well, I would say a rational person would understand that and recognize that, hey, my computer's broke, but it stopped this virus. I would be like, okay, that sucks. But there are some people that are going to be unreasonable about that.
Yeah, aren't there always?
Aren't there always? But yeah, so I thought that was interesting that Microsoft actually got some kudos in the news of how well they did.
Yep, they've been doing that too. And this is not the first time that Microsoft has done coordinated takedown attacks, working with the government, working with other providers like GoDaddy and Amazon. So but it just shows that it takes a coordinated effort to make a lot of this stuff happen. It's not just one agency. It's not just the government. It's not just business. So,
yeah. So that's like I said, that's some big nation state stuff, kind of big deal. Is that what our wars are going to look like going through the future? Because we're just
partially, at least in part.
Yeah.
This is a part. I mean, look at the attacks on Estonia, on Ukraine. Georgia over the last several years that Russia has done. Before all of these big kinetic attacks, they're preceded by big old electronic attacks. And got news for you, we're not immune.
No, laziness knows no boundaries.
Today they're saying you should assume essentially all of these sites that have been hacked have been and government communications and stuff they're on the inside. So they're privy to all the private knowledge now. Wow. Just wow.
We're just going to rebuild everything.
You're not joking. That's the thing. And in 2 of the incidents that I'm intimately involved with right now, that's going on. My client's website was one of those. We said, look, you can hire us to find out exactly what's going to go, what's going to be happening. It's probably going to take at least several days, and you're going to be out a lot of money. It's going to cost less just to start rebuilding it from scratch right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's wipe and reload.
And then if that sounds daunting, think about if you were a hospital. And now if that sounds daunting, think about if you were an entire federal agency.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. I think about that. I can think of a small medical practice that I have right now that if you said you have to rebuild their entire infrastructure, that would make me just put my head in my hands and have a little pity party before I girded up and went on the attack. But I just couldn't imagine it in a huge organization like that.
It boggles the mind. So should we move on to a nifty and start to wrap this up?
Yeah, let's nifty something and wrap it up.
I'm trying to find it. There it is. There it is. Now, I do not own this nifty, but I have had my hands on it. And I was inspired by this because Amazon also has the Echo frames. So you can now buy eyeglasses. You bring your own prescription, and Amazon has them with the Lady in the Tube smart assistant built in. Bose has something similar. Now, I don't believe it has a smart assistant in it, but what it does have is it has speakers, Bluetooth audio speakers, so they pair with your watch or your phone, and you use them instead of earphones, AirPods or earbuds or whatever you'd normally use. They use this spatial aural sound thing. It's called open ear audio. So your ears are open, right? There's nothing going into your ears. So the speakers are part of the frames. They sound amazing.
Really?
They sound amazing.
Does everybody else hear it?
It's like if you're wearing a Walkman, remember old style Walkman headsets? If you have it cranked up, you could hear that. You could hear they were listening to something. It sounds kind of like that. As you go to bring the frames closer to your head as you're starting to put them on, you hear like teeny, 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 wow, stereo sound. And you take it off and so whoa, it is quite impressive.
Cool.
So I have to assume that Bose will do a better job than at least the initial Echo frames option. But I'm looking at the Bose frames Altos. They're $179. And it's a slightly older version, but they look really cool. And I'm really interested in maybe getting those and then having my prescription, just pop them out, not use them as sunglasses, but pop them out and have my prescription lenses put into those.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but right now I have the AirPods Pro, so I don't need those. Did I talk about that last time? I don't remember, but I got memory foam tips.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
Loving them. They stay in so much better now. So
good.
I can't justify a new pair of these frames just yet, but maybe next year, maybe when I'm due for a new pair of glasses, I'll buy a pair of the Amazon Echo ones or whatnot and, bill them against my insurance because my eyeglass plan has, gives me an option for one every year. So anyway, those frames, they look pretty cool and they sound really cool.
Yeah. only bummer, I mean, is they are really expensive. I mean, they're really expensive, but they're not really expensive. I mean, they're
$179 for a pair of decent sunglasses.
yeah. I paid 150 for my Ray-Bans.
Yeah, and how much did you pay for your AirPods, your audio?
Well, I did the refurb version, but I still paid $100 for them.
So you're at $250.
Yeah.
Which is the same price as those.
Yeah.
I mean, I paid $250 for these stupid AirPods, not counting the special foam tips that I bought.
Yeah.
These add-ons, man. They're nickel and diamond, man. But anyway, on that note, I think we should start to wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us both at blurringthelinespodcast.com. I'm on Twitter at Nikolaidis. Adam is on Twitter at SublimeComp. Adam's website is sublimecomp.com. My websites are Nikolaidis.com, ParadigmCC.com, and YogaWithPeter.com. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, any reason, we don't care. Just send us spam mail. We'll make fun of you on the next episode. So I think that's all I got. Shall we?
All right. Hit the
big red
button.